Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello, Paul Traney here with the one and only Victoria Siemer.
Hello.
Yes, who's been on this stream before, actually.
Yes.
As well.
I think last year. I hosted once and I was talent once or twice.
Oh, yeah. You're always the talent. It's just whether you're on camera is the thing. So good to have you here. I think we're going to have a super fun week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Sorry about that. And let's
make sure our cell phones, everybody, cell phones silent.
But welcome, Frederick. Benjamin, let us know where you're from. We're in beautiful San Francisco, where it's actually really nice out today.
Yeah.
We could see through these lovely windows here.
Yeah.
See the lovely.
We're actually out here in this.
in the sea, sunny, kind of like this. But it's gonna be good. We have a full day planned today in the next 3 days. Let's kind of review that schedule really fast because we do have you for a couple hours, which is great.
Yes.
So again, all this week on Adobe Live, Tuesday to Thursday, we have Witchoria from 9 to 11. And going to be making some animated GIFs and making some really cool stuff. Nathaniel Dodson, otherwise known as Toot Vids. Shauna Lynn will be up doing some lettering. Jesse Thomas and Taylor Crisdale from Jess 3 or Jesse. I don't know how you say that actually, but they do awesome like social media stuff and like almost like guerrilla campaigns. So I think it's really fun because I think everybody's going to be using Photoshop like a little bit differently.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been challenged to only work in one element of
Oh.
Photoshop, which is actually really exciting. So.
Yes, can you tell people a little bit about yourself, people that don't know you?
So I don't know if we want to just like pop up in
we could do that.
my Instagram. Instagram.com.
Here you go.
All right, so somebody's got it open. So I am a visual artist based in Brooklyn, and I like to get weird in Photoshop, and now more recently After Effects, but my history with animation started in the Photoshop timeline, so it's kind of fun to take a step back and see what I can do with it now that I also have more knowledge with animation. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these.
Yeah,
This is one. This is
I'm
actually
just
Photoshop.
Yeah.
That's in my mom's backyard. She moved to the middle of nowhere, Buffalo.
I just love this. I mean, because this probably, it looks like a pretty magical night, but I think oftentimes you probably take pictures of maybe a vacant area that other people would just kind of like not notice, and you turn it into almost something
The magic
surreal.
of this is also it's not nighttime. It's a technique I like to use called day to night. Well, I didn't name it day to night. The film industry did. I use it a lot in my illumination techniques. So I do a lot of illuminated text pieces. I actually did one on my last stream, which you guys can look up if you want to get into that. But today we're actually going to be illuminating an object instead of text, which I did. If you scroll up to the top, it's going to be sort of similar to this glowing guy. But this time it's going to be in motion instead of a still. And I think that will be super fun. But that also is shot during the day. And I've edited it to look like nighttime so that it makes it look like it's glowing.
I think what would be kind of fun, and maybe not today, but over at least some point while we have you here, is to take a look at some of these like original PSD files and and see how ugly they are and messy. And I want to see unnamed layers,
hard drives. Which is dangerous. I mean, if something if I got robbed, I have all of my files with me.
Oh,
I carry them with me everywhere. I don't know why. I also get I get nervous. I can't leave the house without my laptop because I feel like I'm gonna have an idea and wanna. I don't know. I'm really attached to this.
Mm-hmm. And I think some people might know your work, again, Witchoria, on all social medias. That's the account we're reviewing right now. This is way cool. Again, some people might recognize this.
Yeah, so this is a series I've had for a couple years, not more than a couple years, I guess like 6 or 7 years now. And it's just a really simple clipping mask, but I call them geometric reflections, and it's just a fun exercise and using simple Photoshop techniques to make magical, surreal imagery.
And that's what I love about your work, and I'm kind of like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I ever do that? It's like a simple mask flip. I mean, I'm sure it's much more complex than I make it seem.
I mean, it's literally.
You're killing me.
But it doesn't work with any kind of image. So usually
okay.
it looks best on these foggy, smoky-looking images.
And you have that like hidden line.
But if we'll test it. Maybe we'll have time to do one, and I can show you. Maybe we'll make one move, but not everything works in that technique.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, super cool. Again, you did the Max Identity graphics a couple years ago. Was it
2016.
2016.
Yeah, that was fun. Very stressful. It was crazy having like 20,000, or I don't know how many people were there, wearing my photography on their badge.
Who? Yeah, I want to know. I remember that. I actually have one of. Obviously, I have the shirt with your artwork on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even have that shirt.
I will happily sell it to you.
Yeah, so this was a fun one actually with Swopes. I feel like the last time I was on here, Swopes was another artist who was on the stream immediately after me, and we were in a Make It on Mobile program together, and we made this piece as a collaboration, and then I animated it. But I animated this in After Effects.
Yeah.
This was not in Photoshop. We could have probably done it in Photoshop, but I definitely used After Effects.
And, the reason we are mentioning this and animation in general, if you do go to the challenge tab, you can see the challenge for today, which is all about creating an animated GIF. So that's the plan today, which is why we're talking about animation. It is your gateway drug to animation, really. You start out in Photoshop, then you end up in After Effects.
Well, it teaches you the fundamentals of keyframing, and a lot of you are probably familiar with creating GIFs. And since Photoshop has evolved, it's actually expanded into a pretty nifty video editing software for baseline. I mean, not obviously as robust as After Effects, but I think it's a good step in the right direction, because when you go into After Effects, things are laid out a little bit differently, but there's still the same tools in there.
Yeah.
You just have to get used to finding where they exist.
Yes.
And it's been kind of cool seeing, because I know a lot of the Adobe software now, and it's kind of interesting to see how once you learn one really intimately, it actually has this beautiful ripple effect where it's a lot easier to learn all of the other software pieces, because you already have a baseline understanding of how things work.
Yeah, no, that is good. And so that is the challenge. Hopefully you'll probably, I'm sure you will show us how that's done. Essentially, like, here's my little,
nice.
It's extreme sports, so this is my little mouse, but all I did is, let me actually delete this frame, sort of have these, layers right over here, and I just want to animate the mouse. I'm just going to show people.
I don't know how to do
fast.
that. This is enhance.
Oh, and by the way, if we undo this, let me,
I'll open the timeline panel too.
Yeah, so I'll just delete the timeline. So this is what it looks like initially. So you can say create video timeline, or create right here frame animation. So if you're going to do something sort of frame by frame, that might be the case where you'd use that. I'm just doing a video timeline, but I can render that out as an animated GIF.
Yeah.
But again, right here, this is where the mouse is going to start, maybe over here. Extreme sports. I have to make sure I turn this on. Boom. Turn that on. Starts on that side. Scrub through. Move from point A to
nice.
point B. There's
I thought you were actually using a video. No, all right.
Yeah. Oh, I wish. Oh, I would love it.
We will be using videos today.
So he just picks it up right there.
Oh, you
maybe.
even did a little shadow.
He goes,
look at that.
Shoo, extreme animal sports. I want to put a little helmet on him.
Oh, yeah.
Like with
We should just keep embellishing this day after day where it gets more and more complex.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it. So, and then save for web. You can render out that as an animated GIF. Again, make sure that's changed to GIF. Right over here, we have this. I can make this loop forever, but I don't want to annoy people. There's only one piece of cheese. He gets it once, and then he's off. So just render that out, and that's what the contest is all about, as you can see right here in this contest tab, or challenge tab. Extreme sports, could be whatever you want. Have fun with it. Now you know about it. But we're going to do random giveaway too in about 20 minutes as well. So we're just going to give stuff away. Look at this. Do people
practice
see
my
this?
Vanna White.
Do you love this? Do you love this? Go ahead, touch it. You can touch
it does feel good.
It was just like, I've never wanted
guys
to
want
pet a
this.
pillow, but I will pet this pillow.
I will say the legibility is a little off because it's
is
so
a little-
soft and fluffy.
It's been a while since it's had a haircut, so. But that's the giveaway we'll give away here.
Oh my God, people are in from all over the world. Hello.
So, hello Morton and Kevin and Alejandro. Always love to hear where you're from as well. We'll keep an eye on the chat.
I definitely pronounce it GIF. I'm not
I do
about that
GIF.
GIF life.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad we're in
The
agreement.
puns are way better. With GIF.
Javier from Miami. Good to have you here. You live in Brooklyn? Where you
Yes,
live?
I do.
Brooklyn?
So I actually felt really efficient today because I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning California time. So I've been up for quite some time now, which I do not do in New York. So this is a early bird. Already got the worm today.
I like it. Well,
right.
Thank you for traveling to the left coast and joining us. I'm going to switch to your screen. Oh, wait, let me
right,
switch
are
to
you
it
guys
first.
ready?
Wait. No, well, let's go see this.
Okay. So those of you that are familiar with me know that I always like to keep my folders organized as tiers, which is very on brand for me. And I've changed from Leo, from Romeo and Juliet, to Dawson, because crying Dawson is a little bit funnier. And so this is how I've been organizing. This is 2018 layout. I don't know what I'll do for the next one, but I do find it the best way to keep myself organized is to always have my folders interacting with the image in the background. So
I love it.
yeah.
And I'm excited about this. I'm just excited to kind of just like see how you work and take a look at your files and all that stuff. It's just fun seeing you work.
So today, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to remake that sort of silhouette guy, but this time I've got a couple twists on it that I want to do. So I'm going to show you my inspiration for that piece. And I also have a question for you guys. Where the heck is this from? I see it all over Tumblr. I've been watching a lot of X-Files, but I haven't. Is it an X-Files episode? Is it Close Encounters with the Third
Go
Kind?
full screen with it?
Well, it's also low resolution.
Oh.
But we can
where
try.
is that from?
What is this from? I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Monsters, Inc.
It almost, I don't know.
So obviously, I'm feeling,
It's definitely 80s, 4:3 aspect ratio.
I mean, it's definitely from TV. It's not. Is it Outer Limits?
Outer Limits.
I don't know.
Close Encounters, Twin Peaks.
100 points to whoever figures this out because
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure it out for a while. Is it Twin?
You know,
No.
we could do a reverse image like. Look
I
up.
tried. I've tried everything to try to figure it out because I wanted
this
to
is
give
a
credit where
true-
credit is due, but that was my inspiration for what I did in that snowy photo.
Love it.
And so we're gonna take it to the next level today by making it move, and I'm also gonna make it a little bit poltergeisty because I want to use that texture of TV noise. So this is the least prepared I've ever been for one of these because I'm like usually really crazy with
this is
doing
good.
things over and over again before I come and present how to do it. So this time you guys get to watch me flail a little bit, which I think is, a more honest process.
Feel free. So you are Witchoria on social media.
Yeah, Witchoria.
Witchoria. Sorry, Witchoria.
My mom, everyone does that.
Which
It's
is
because my
Toria.
name's Victoria. So I think people
Oh.
just like put the Toria in there.
So
But,
can they like maybe tag you on social media with a reference if you happen to
yeah,
find?
I'm on all the social medias under the same
No.
name.
Or
so
Paul Tranny, but just like if you happen to find this image and kind of can show us, well, that's how you can get a hold of us.
all right. So I guess it's time to start. I showed you guys the inspiration.
And I love that you're doing this, by the way, because everybody is starting at like ground zero. Like sometimes people come in too prepared. It's like, no.
Well, I've done that before, and I think this time, it's more fun to do it this way. Some of the later lessons will be a little more prepped, but
Yeah,
this one we're going in.
fresh.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is first, because it's going to be a glowing image, I need to pick my background image, which I had Lightroom open. I have all this archival photography from anytime I travel, and I try to go to the desert every time I'm in California because, obviously there's no deserts anywhere near New York. And so this is in Anza Borrego, and I love this place, so I think this could be a fun area to use in one of these animations. So I don't know what the perspective is going to be yet, but we can generally assume it's probably going to look like one of these.
And I'm sorry, where did you take this again?
This is Anza Borrego. It's in Southern California. It's like 2 hours outside of San Diego. This is where I shot the Max logo.
Did you have to get up super
Look at this
early?
garbage. This drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Don't you go to the desert and throw your trash out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's because we're winging it. It's not... I'm worried there's going to be like a heavy amount of masking if I use something with too many bushes in it.
Yeah, because if the person, is moving.
Maybe
that's like
this
a
will
worst.
be a good one.
Yeah.
So right now, we're just going to open this in Photoshop, edit it. So right now I'm in Lightroom. I used to use Bridge all the time, but now I use Lightroom as Bridge because, I don't know, Bridge, I don't need it anymore, I guess, now that I've learned Lightroom. When I first used Lightroom, I didn't realize that you could have one catalog. Mm-hmm. And so I was making a new catalog every single time I opened opened Lightroom. Not anymore. So I'm going to close out of this.
In Lightroom, I have the problem of moving files around too much, and then I have broken links, if you will.
Yes, well, I've also had the Lightroom crash where I lose my presets, but I'm getting to the point now where I love Lightroom for quick edits, but 9 times out of 10, I'm editing everything in Photoshop anyways, so it's not the end of the world if I lose my presets.
Yeah.
So I am in Photoshop, and so what we're gonna be doing is working in the timeline panel. So what I'm gonna do is go to Window, Timeline, for those of you who wanna learn how to get this started. And so you do have 2 options. There's frame animations and video. We're gonna work in video, for fun.
Oh yeah, and I love the video timeline, by the way. Because it's just like ripped straight from After Effects.
Well, that's why it's a good first step for people who are a little intimidated by After Effects to start learning the behaviors of, it's also similar to how things are laid out in Premiere Pro, to just get used to how this timeline functions. So right now, my voice I sound like I'm hitting puberty. What I need to do is, I'm gonna be rotoscoping, essentially. Are you guys familiar with rotoscoping? It's an animation technique where you can essentially trace over a video file and make an animation. And so we're gonna do that today. And so what I've done is, I've typed into Adobe stock silhouette because I don't think you guys want to watch me actually drawing 100 frames or something today. So we're gonna cheat a little bit. And I haven't picked which one, so this would be kind of funny. Woo! So yeah, or look, this cowboy guy.
What?
He's not really spooky though.
He's
so
not spooky. That just makes me laugh.
I really want, what about this guy? Scooby-Doo guy. So what I want
and it's good if they're standing, right? Maybe not moving, or you do want
this
them
person
walk?
just doing squats in the desert.
Hey, even ghosts need
I should have prepped this more. This guy's just walking with his iPad in the desert.
Just looking for a Wi-Fi.
This is definitely not a real.
Wi-Fi in the desert.
So bear with me for 2 seconds. I don't know.
Here, do you need me to just switch cameras or
this
something?
This guy, he could be imagine. So let's pretend if we're looking at both. Would this guy look right on the desert? Oh wait, it doesn't.
It's so
good to know that you
comical.
have to be. I guess maybe we'll just do rude guy on a cell phone the whole time.
I like the idea of it's like Aziz Ansari does that a bit on.
Maybe this honestly, maybe we will just do the cowboy guy. I think I'll switch to something that's more on brand, but it's hysterical.
It's so fun.
Oh wait, but is the perspective right? Oh, I don't know. So I think I'm gonna save. How do I do this?
Yeah, let's see. I'm asking.
Save preview to computer. I know there's a way to sync it.
Yeah, I could show you how. Let's do it
let's
right
do,
now.
Okay,
Might as well.
So
yeah, no, go
what do I do?
back to where you were.
Okay, so I am
into the browser.
The Chrome.
In the Chrome, roll over it, and then click the download arrow. Or actually, click this expand out. Whoop. And then you'd pick a library or make a new one.
I'm gonna make a new one. Oh,
yeah,
wait, do I need to make a new one in here first? Because it said failed to create a library.
Doesn't matter. No, you can do it there.
Okay, so, oops.
Yeah. No. This is like user stuff happens all the time. Add a library.
Okay, so what am I gonna call it?
Adobe Live.
Adobe Live. That makes more sense. I was gonna name it something weird, like I inevitably do with everything else. And then I go here.
Yeah, you might need to give it a second.
Oh God, guys, you can see my color codes. I don't see it in here yet.
It might take a second. You will see that little, there's the Creative Cloud logo.
Do I need to
will
exit out and
sync.
start over again?
Not usually, but it'll just take a second.
What's up, guys?
Hey everybody. Good to have you here, Branda City and Frederick. Frederick, you like the cowboy dancing? Because that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, it's still not in here. Is there a way to force it? Sync. Come here, little buddy.
Where do you get, like, you have such a style, like, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, what is this stuff, like, what's your, I hate to say it, but what is, like, your inspiration?
Here it is.
Like, how can you be at your mom's place, which is just, like, maybe nothing outside, and you're like, I see this. Is that what happens, or what?
Well, what happened was I was working, so I've been living a double life for quite some time, where I worked at an agency for 5 years, and I hate to break it to you guys, creative agencies aren't that creative. So I was losing my mind because I felt like I had all these ideas that never were able to get executed, so I started going home and playing in Photoshop and just making stuff on my own and sharing it on my own. And then that started snowballing, and more people were watching me do these weird creative exercises. And so it just rolled into this where now I got into the habit of any time I had weird ideas, I would always do them. And so I became very comfortable with, walking out in the middle of nowhere and being like, I've got an idea for this. Like my favorite one recently was this hilariously
Oh man. Oh, I might have it up. Are you gonna click on the first one?
Yeah, the Let It Burn. So Michael's, as I jokingly say in the caption, had a sale on those MDF letters. So I wrapped them in fabric that my mom had because she's a quilter, and then I stapled the fabric to the letters and soaked it in lighter fluid and went out, and it was like, I don't know, like -10 degrees or something in Buffalo. I couldn't feel my hands the rest of the day, but I went out and I didn't have a photo assistant, so I had my tripod set up, and I was trying to take pictures and then running out and squirting lighter fluid on this and then running back and forth, which was really hysterical. But that was another one of those weird impulses where my mom was buying fabric, and I was like, you know what? They're having a sale right now. I might as well buy all these letters and start burning them instead of photoshopping it. So this was done in real life.
I love those.
But the fun thing about this is that now I can see how the light reacted on the snow. And so this is also a study for how to Photoshop it better later, because now I can see this is how the light diffused with fire. So down the road, if I want to Photoshop fire, I would want to mimic this type of behavior.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I like to go back and forth between studies. What is that like? Actually doing it and then photoshopping it. No, this is real. This one's not photoshopped. But
you guys like that? What do you think? Gretchen thinks it's so cool, and you would be correct.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do it again, I think.
You should. Just be careful.
Just
like,
not anywhere in California.
Like...
So I'm going to be in Monterey next week on the beach, and I think I'm going to be doing this again, which will be fun.
And how much, like, I mean, all of this is an actual photo, and sure, color correction and stuff, but, like, all those letters are there actually sticking.
Yeah, this is real.
Poles.
This is, like, my one, like, of all of my timeline and Instagram, this is, like, the one thing that's real.
Yeah.
All right, so back to where we were. I'm not sure we're going to stick with the cowboy, but we're going to use him for right now just so we can kind of, like, get into the process of this. So I'm in my libraries, and I see my little cowboy, and do I just drag him in? Yeehaw!
Yeah, I guess I've never, or you can
just
right
double-
click,
Come here, little buddy.
do a right click, and you should get an insert. Okay.
Come on, buddy. Can you not use videos? You know what we're gonna, for now, I'll just...
Yeah.
I'll just drag this dancing guy in. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out for
Perfect.
tomorrow's stream.
Done. And the cool thing, like we can get you the actual one.
Okay, so, I mean, the funny thing about this is that we really give a cowboy. That's really funny. So, all right, we're in the timeline. If you press spacebar, come here. Does it? Oh, there he is. He's really slowly rendering. So you can see he's wiggling around a little bit. You can see that the frames are a little janky right now. So what I'm gonna do first is that this is probably 30 frames per second, like most footage is like 29.97 or 30. There's no way that I'm editing 30 frames per second right now. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go to panel options, or no, set timeline frame rate.
And that's the little flyout menu there.
Yeah, so this little hamburger guy.
Which is right here.
And so I'm in timeline frame rate. And we're like, I don't know, should I be,
Yeah, I do something
are we
low.
doing a
Yeah.
Marlboro ad? No, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. All right, 12 frames per second. So that cuts it down a little bit. And then I'm gonna use this weird little, I don't know what this is called, this landscape guy. This scrubs your timeline. It doesn't actually change how long it is, but it makes it so now that instead of seeing what is probably 30 seconds. Okay, I guess this is a 30-second video. I'm gonna cut this way down because that's way too long. But this will make it, instead of by second, it's gonna be by individual frame. So you can see, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, and it's basically you're zooming into that timeline. Okay, cool.
Which, yeah, so for anyone who just tuned in, we're in window, timeline, and I created a video timeline because I want to show some of the editing, the motion editing aspects of Photoshop this week. So, all right, we're in, and then now I want to sort of get into my rotoscope mode. Well, actually, first, let me cut this down. So let's pick our favorite part of this, like, is he snapping? I don't know what he's doing here.
Yeah, I feel like I
am the worst, I'm sorry.
is.
Boom. Maybe we'll do like a trying to figure out how long I want to make this.
Because you're gonna edit this frame by frame, yeah?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna cheat a little bit because I picked a silhouette for a reason. Normally, I would silhouette everything myself, so I thought about jokingly having a video of me dancing and then cutting it out one by one. But I know that you guys do not want to sit here and watch me cut like
But we do
150 frames out by hand. So what we're gonna do is
we do want to see you dance.
we're doing
by the way.
the
that part we want to see.
we're gonna do it this way. Let's see. All right. So I'm cutting it way down. So the way you can like cut parts of this video out to scrub it down is by just dragging this the end of it. I don't know what that's called. As you can see here. So maybe we'll have it at
I like how it gives you that
3
preview.
seconds.
That actually might be new.
That's like that's not an overwhelming amount of frames. And so what I want to do next is, if you guys, I feel like you guys can guess that if we were in a frame by frame animation, I could just silhouette this each frame individually, one at a time, and then that would be how we're gonna do this. But because we're using the timeline tool, this is actually something I just learned this morning. There's a really cool way to do this where you don't have to do that. So we go to Layer, Video Layers, New Blank Video Layer. Voila. And I'm gonna cut everything down to be the same length. And we might replace the cowboy guy, but for the sake of right now, I think this would be funny.
Good to have you
All
here,
right.
Morton and Chris and Seema. Let me know if you are new to watching us. We'd love to hear you. Just give us a nice little hello. We basically want to welcome you if you're new to watching us today, but it's fun seeing some familiar faces in chat.
All right, so the first thing I want to do is, he's obviously a giant right now. I can tell even though I can't see the background. So I'm just gonna, I'm on the wrong layer. I'm gonna click on my cowboy guy, and I'm gonna click multiply, just so I can see him.
Yeah.
So like, oh, maybe he's not a giant. He actually maybe is actually kind of close to where he should be. But I want to be able to show some of the day to night glowy effect. So I'm gonna maybe make him like this big. I'm big on eyeballing it. This is actually, all right, so there he is. He's snapping, he's doing his thing. So you can work with, you can put video directly into Photoshop. And here you can see him snapping or doing whatever he's gonna do.
So thank you so much for. Looks like Andy's joining us. Wants to kind of get a quick little recap of what we're doing. Basically, obviously, we're in Photoshop. We dropped in a video, basically, that you're going to be sort of treating frame by frame. But for the next 3 days, we have awesome Photoshop gurus, designers, and letterers that are going to be joining us. So just watch the magic happen. That looks pretty good.
So, okay, so this is, I'm gonna show you a quick way where, for those of you who, I'm sure there's not everyone here is probably a photo manipulator person. There's probably a lot of people that do more animation, I hope. Animation people, I don't wanna leave you behind. You might already be familiar with this because you probably already have had to rotoscope stuff for school, but we'll do a practice one really quickly. So the cool thing is I can paint. I've picked this hot pink for now so we can just see what I'm doing to just show the idea of what happens. So I'm in this, I made this new blank video layer, and the crazy thing is that I can edit this frame by frame, and it reads the same way I would have if I had separated all the frames in a frame animation instead of this video timeline. And this is a nice way to keep everything organized, because you can get kind of lost. I'll show you some of my files for the really intense Photoshop where I'm blinking the letters on and off, and you can see where I've like totally botched it and like had to go back and fix it because the frame layers are all over the place. It is a Photoshop bonanza. So we're in our, what is this called? Because I just learned to do it this morning. Thanks, Google. Video layer, it's a blank video layer. Okay, so I'm on the first frame. Let's pretend that I was actually drawing this from scratch. Oh yeah, ooh, look at this. He looks kind of like Freddy Krueger now. Oh yeah. And then I would go to the next frame, boom. Oh look, it changed a little bit. And then I would just like trace on this one. And then I would scrub to the next one. Wow, this is...
You're pretty good, and you're just using your little touchpad.
Yeah, I can't use the tablets as easy because I have hand tremors, so holding a pencil is harder than dragging my hand. So I'm a trackpad baby.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not like... I think some of you might, with deductive logic, understand why I've picked a silhouette guy for this, for what I'm actually gonna do. But I just wanna show you, if you wanted to do it, painting each frame, what's great is that I'm not actually destroying the cowboy because it's its own separate layer. This is the ugliest cowboy I've ever seen. And so I've only done 4 frames, but well, it's going really fast. But you can see, ooh, you can see as I'm dragging around. And there's this other thing for people who want to get super, super detailed with it, which I also learned about this morning. Is called Enable Onion Skins in our timeline hamburger options menu. And onion skins will make it so that you can see a translucent previous frame. Does that make sense? So I can see a little bit of what I had drawn before. So it shows you sort of where you are in the process. But for this, I don't need the onion skin. So yeah, so that's what this would be if I had decided to go this route. So here he is, woo! But obviously, I want my guy to be solid and much more detailed than my illustration skills with a trackpad can provide. So I'm gonna delete this out and I'm gonna start over again.
You do that. Actually, while you do that, I think we'll just go ahead and do the giveaway. We'll give away this pillow. Look at this fuzzy little pillow. Look at this thing.
Woo!
This thing is adorable. Ooh. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adobe Live. Is this the first time we've given this out?
It's very soft.
Oh, it's this. It is the new gift. Actually, the second time we've given it out. Yeah, it's beautiful. Victoria, she used it last night, slept on it, can attest to its comfort level, which is fantastic. You will have to take it every 2 weeks to give it a haircut, though. Yeah. So if you're willing to accept that responsibility, just say something in chat. That's all we need to hear you do. Fuzzy, pillow, cute,
it is really fuzzy.
Yeah. I want it to be like the size of a couch.
That would be
I want to be able to rest
giveaway.
in like the pee or something.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah. So just be active in chat and we will draw a name randomly. Thanks to Adobe Live and Gus and Paco
Just like
over
slowly
here.
put it in my purse. Just kidding,
And
it's
I guess I already
mine.
gave it away.
Okay.
So fluffy pillow coming up. We'll draw the name here.
Should I keep going or?
Yeah, you can
Okay,
continue to
so
go. People are saying it. They'll let us know when they draw a name.
all right, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna make another blank video layer, and this time we're on rogue territory because I have not actually ever done this before. The way I'm about to do it.
We're all learning today.
So I'm gonna get out of. I don't necessarily need this in multiply anymore, so I'm gonna go to normal, and this is where things are gonna get interesting. So I picked a silhouette because they're really easy to isolate with this quick select tool so that I don't actually have to trace it by hand.
Oh, imagine that.
But in my test this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, oh, I forgot. Maybe it would be helpful to just get the,
I'm working on
the case. In my test this morning, I realized I'm used to using everything with these adjustment layers down here. And that doesn't work in this process, so I actually have to find, because I don't know where it went. Where the heck? Oh wait, actually I just found it. Is this the fill tool? Yeah, it is.
It only works if his name is Phil.
His name is, oh, yeah. You guys picking up what I'm putting down here?
I like it.
So other than he's got like the Adobe watermark. So what I'm gonna do instead of doing the paintbrush by hand is that I'm going to be selecting each frame and just filling it with the fill tool because
I think that's good.
that's sneaky.
That
right?
is super, it just makes a lot of sense. We got it. All right, we will be drawing a name in a second for the pillow. Not to worry, thank you so much for participating, which is just saying something in chat. Welcome, Felicia. Good to have you. Melanie, awesome. Daniel's been using Photoshop since Photoshop 6. When did you start using Photoshop?
I started using Photoshop in high school, so I don't know, 2004, 2003?
Whatever version.
I don't remember
that
what
was.
version that was, but I don't have any musical talent, and all my friends were in bands, so the only thing I could do was make their posters.
Which sounds like the most fun job. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. Right, I do.
So what I'm gonna do is actually,
Ooh, we got it.
you know what else we can test? Let's see if I can up my, my tolerance is 30. What do you think, 50 guys? Will that eat too much of this? That selected
Darboz,
everything. That doesn't work.
1998.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but when using this, what is it, magic wand tool, you can actually change the tolerance. So the higher the tolerance, the more it'll select. So 50 was too much because it selected everything.
I might have an idea. Can you? So we could try that, and then I have do you use the quick selection tool? At
Oh,
all?
I do sometimes. I mean, that might also be the smarter way
Yeah,
to do
because you
this.
get to like maybe
Oh,
just
I'm also
drag.
not on the right layer.
Yeah, there's
See?
that. Okay,
see.
everybody, looks like, thank you, Chris Powell 96. Wow, everybody has been working in Photoshop a while. Looks like we have a winner for the pillow. So we want to thank you. Thank you too. Go ahead.
Glenn McDaniel.
Glenn McDaniel, congratulations, you win Fuzzy Pillow 1.0, first edition, essentially. We'll send that to you. Gus
edition.
We'll run that right over to your house.
All right, guys,
In person.
I found the magic number.
You did?
It's tolerance 80. And so that makes it so it's not picking up on this text. So it's not picking the white up, but it's now including this gray, which was in the body. So I'm just gonna keep filling this. Right now it doesn't matter. I'm using this obnoxious pink because it helps me keep track of the color, but we're gonna be masking a bunch of stuff into this, so it doesn't really matter what color I choose as the base, because we can change all of that with blending options and clipping masks.
Because you're working on that one layer.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
So I can
that's
I can
nice.
just I can just change this layer, and it'll make my life easier. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna go through filling this right now.
You work your magic.
Boom. Okay.
Technically,
And now
this
we go to the
is,
next
I
one.
guess, Pillow 2.0, because there is a. Did you see the other pillow? It's not fuzzy.
It's not fuzzy. You guys
Not
are getting
fuzzy. Yeah.
hooked up.
A little
Photoshop
more-
too,
little
no
more-
layers. I saw that video you guys did where you had designers try to work in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, with no undo button. Undo is
Yeah.
my favorite button, probably.
Right.
Oh, one thing while you guys are like bored watching me mask this for like 36 times is one of my favorite weird questions is, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And mine, like for a Photoshop superpower, would be able to patch tool real life.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I could like kind of
man.
just like fix cracks in sidewalks and all these other little things that bother me.
Is that what's going through your head when you walk down the street? You're you're like patch tool.
I could definitely use a patch tool
Right.
IRL. So I don't know if you guys have weird, like undo would also be a great one.
Have you ever like maybe like knocked over something and then quickly thought undo?
Yeah, well, I
that.
I am the clumsiest person. This poor computer, there's like chips on the
Let's keep
side.
these waters away from you. We're gonna move.
Even if they're sealed, I'll still somehow find a way to blow up my computer.
You're scaring me.
All right, so I have to unselect. The only awkward thing about this process is that I have to toggle between my layers because I'm filling the layer above it, but I have to select the layer below it. So I'm just, wax on, wax off, right, guys?
Oh, I see.
Boop.
I wonder if there's a shortcut key.
There probably is. I'm sure there is.
Let me see if I can.
Boom. All right. So you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here. Now, I could have done this sort of the reverse way, where if I was working in a frame by frame, I could have just deleted out the background over and over again, but we're trying things out in the video timeline today.
Yeah.
Oops, see, I did it again.
So for those of you joining us, we are with Victoria, the one and only Victoria Siemer, with us in action in Photoshop, creating an animated GIF.
All right,
we have a
guys.
challenge going on right now too. You can see that challenge clock just below me. So essentially I have 48 minutes to create an extreme sports animated GIF.
What's the shortcut to this? That would probably make my...
I'm gonna find the shortcut for...
Unless I've, of course, like, changed it. All right, guys, bear with me. I should have done one of those things like on cooking shows where I had another laptop where it was already cooked. You know what I mean? It's like a fully baked version of this, so you don't have to watch it.
We're done in like 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
then we just sit here and stare at each other.
You've actually for 2 hours been watching me do this. Sorry, guys.
No, I like it. Welcome, Melanie. Yeah, so this is really fun. So this is, again, frame by frame
so
animation.
Let's check our work. Ooh, yeah, you see? You see it? Ooh, it's coming together, guys. All right, this is fun because I have not done this before, and so now I've got all sorts of ideas about weird stuff that I can do using this technique. So now I'm invigorated, and I'm gonna try to go quicker. Maybe I'll only do half the frames still. Do you think this is a good stopping point? Boop. Does he put his arm? Oh no, I should stop like... All right, I'll just keep going. I'll stop being a baby.
What's that file? Adobe stock.
It's a... Come here, little buddy.
Is that like a premium? I'm trying to locate the file for you.
There was also a guy on his cell phone the whole time.
Okay.
1, 2, 6, 4, 9, 8, 4, 3, 4.
Boop, boop.
If you just type in silhouette,
That's
he's
what
like...
look at how many. This
Is this guy? Is he like?
This is Adobe stock for you. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Look. Whoa, yeehaw!
Oh, see, but I'm not into the,
That's a lot going on.
All right. So
You would. I was thinking I could just go ahead and do a search for cowboy silhouette and find that one. And there's like 50. There's like
No.
There's pages and pages.
It's not gonna happen today.
6 pages.
All right. What am I doing? What am I filling it in?
So this is really good. If you're not familiar, say, with animation or After Effects or anything like that, you basically work in Photoshop. Again, I think this is a good sort of entry-level place to start to get
Yeah.
into animation.
And this is called rotoscoping, but I'm rotofilling because I suck at illustration. So I found a hack. I hacked the
really,
system.
We found something that you can't do? Is that what
Well,
I'm
what's
hearing?
weird is I realized that if I had put this, I could put this in After Effects and key it out and then export it with an alpha layer, which is invisible, and then I wouldn't have had to do any of this. But
But what fun is that?
We're in Photoshop today. Yeah, sorry, I'm letting my nerd show. Come here. All right, so we're almost done with this part. I'm going as fast as I can. I'm getting nervous now that I'm not like masking it quick enough, so I'm like, ah. All right. So maybe we'll just keep it. You know what we'll do? So I'm not wasting too much time because I don't think I'm gonna keep this cowboy guy because it's off-brand. I'm like a walking Tumblr, so it's got to be some sad girl stuff. This cowboy is way too friendly to be in the feed. So I'm gonna have something sad
like
eventually.
More melancholy, just kind of.
Yeah, like this isn't that. So my vibe used to be very witchy, obviously Witchoria, but I'm really feeling the sci-fi right now. So like more of an X-Files vibe.
Oh,
and I don't think X-Files, like the X-Files episode, like the spooky cowboy. So what we'll do is I will.
And I'm trying to look too. I'm just looking on Adobe stock.
Well, luckily now, I mean, now that it's not having an issue with the type, it's fine. I'm not used to working with this fill tool anymore because I have completely moved away from using pixels, which is crazy. My workflow has changed so much in the past.
Frederick says it's a space cowboy.
Space cowboy. Ooh, we could put him in space. I could have put him on the moon. Maybe I'll mask this background out and put, like it's like the moon or something. Yeah. Or Mars. Maybe Mars is more likely than the moon. So what I'm going to do for now is F doing that whole thing right now in front of you guys. I'm just going to cut this way down. And we're going to get the general sense of how I want this filled and glowing. And then what I'll do is, on my own time, I'll cook up a better silhouette thing, and then I'll surprise you guys with it tomorrow.
Well, and I like this because I didn't know about creating the empty video timeline.
I didn't either until this morning, thanks to YouTube.
Thanks, YouTube.
I am big on. I've been doing Photoshop for over 10 years now, and I still regularly do tutorials. I think it's important, one, as the software changes, but there's always just little things that it's like, oh, okay, cool. And you just like add that to your
And I like when
brain.
You know, you kind of get interested in something and like you learn about something and you put that in the back of your brain and it might not reemerge or you might not have a chance to use it for another like 6 months. But that's like you're watching tutorials, and then all of a sudden, oh, this is perfect for this. And I remember watching that tutorial.
Yeah, right? Like the day to night one, I was practicing for something else, and it was the part of the tutorial where you had to light up. You took a street scene and you needed to light up a lamp, and I was like, I could light anything.
Yeah.
And then that's how that whole it went into its own thing. All right, so you know what we can do now? We can hide this Adobe stock video layer, because I've already made my layer on top, and I haven't hurt or murdered any of these pixels, so we'll keep that in case we want it. But now I have essentially, look at him go. So I hit the space bar is how you can. Ooh.
I love it. That's
so
actually
he's not
really
like.
good.
There's one thing that's going to bother me that he's not seamlessly looping.
You hardly
notice.
That
is not for me to worry about right now.
You are really good.
So what we want to do is we want to go from this obnoxious pink dancing cowboy to something more like whatever this is. Again, if you guys know what TV show or movie this is from, it's all over Tumblr. I've seen it for years, and I don't know what it is, and I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. Whoever said Twin Peaks, it's not that. I've done a search for Nightmare. It's not Nightmare on Elm Street.
I've reverse image searched it, but it's just hard to. I think it's just too old to be picked up in image search. Other than you see this image other places. I've tried. I don't know where it's from, but so instead of this. Because I don't want it to be too much like a long exposure glowy guy. I want to add some noise and make it a little poltergeisty. So I also downloaded.
Remember, that's 4:3 ratio. This is an old video. But if you say you found it, just let us know.
This kind of. Or maybe not everyone knows this because I feel like new TVs don't do this. But I'm kind of thinking that this would be a super sweet texture inside the guy. So maybe it's like he's walked out of a TV or something. So we're getting kind of that's the weird way I'm approaching this guy. So the first thing I want to do is I guess I'm going to drag that noise in and see what the deal is. So I'm just going to drag this bad boy right onto here. And I am going to...
Oh, and this is something that
I did not know that this was a grid shortcut. Okay.
This always like screws me up when I work with the timeline. Because notice how you dragged it in and now it starts right there?
Yeah, so it always starts where you're scrubbed, but I'm used to just dragging it backwards now.
Yeah.
So I should have,
but it's
for the
weird.
sake of this. Well, actually, it's good that I didn't just do that, because you guys would be like, what the heck when you guys drag it in? My computer is dragging a little bit, but I should have edited this down. All right, come here.
Could be poltergeist. I think Jason might be onto something.
It is poltergeist?
No, it could be. It could be poltergeist.
See, because that's actually, poltergeist is straight up, obviously with the TV noise. That one scene where she's like,
so scary,
talking to the guy in the TV.
But even that video, they're saying that frame that you
I don't know if my sister's watching, but I have a little sister, and one time she screwed with me for a week by pretending that she was talking in her sleep to someone in the TV. And it scared me so much. And she had it going on for like a week before she burst out laughing. So I was convinced my sister was possessed.
Oh, she older?
No, she's younger. 7 years younger.
You're younger.
She hoodwinked me.
It's messing with you. I love it.
All right, so I've pulled this into my timeline. I've scrubbed it back so everything starts at here. I guess I can, now that I'm not doing it frame by frame anymore. And I've made it all even, and so we can see now that it plays in the timeline. So that means, yes, it came in as an image. And what I'm gonna do here is my favorite thing, my favorite part of Photoshop, clipping masks. So I'm gonna create a clipping mask. Boom. Check it out. Obviously, this noise is a little bit bigger than I anticipated, but we can get to that in a minute. Maybe I'll already like, he is too big, so I'm gonna like, or not him, but the noise. You know what? There are no rules. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna flip it like this. Let's get it as small as possible.
I like it. So, I don't know if everybody's familiar with clipping masks.
Oh yeah.
But the below layer serves as the mask. The upper layer gets masked out.
So that's kind of cool, right?
I think, yeah.
This isn't exactly what I want, but it's close. So I wanted this much more glowy. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just turn this off for a minute. I'm gonna go to blending options, because I right-clicked on my pink layer, and we are gonna start messing with this guy. All right, so I'm gonna do a color overlay. I don't want it to be white necessarily yet. Maybe like a weird like X-Files blue. I've been hitting the X-Files hard, but this time I fell off after like season 2 or 3 last time because there's so many episodes. You can just go on Wikipedia and only do the story episodes instead of the monster episodes. So there's like an abbreviated list of X-Files episodes. So you can actually watch it without all of the filler.
Nice.
Not that in case anyone wanted to do that.
You're a big X-Files fan?
I'm into it, yeah. Now see, I already have some of this set up. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do in the blend styles where it's easy to change down the road and you're not hurting your pixels at all. So I like to try to do as much as possible in here. So we've got them like kind of glowing. I don't think this is the glow I want yet. This is more of the last time I used glow, it's saving this. When you think about how light works in different atmospheres, when it spreads a lot, it's usually in fog or anything that has a lot of water vapor in the air, because that's also like why fog stretches light super weird.
All right.
So one of the things that is fun to do is when you're playing with these illuminated things is to just Google some examples of the effect you want. Like I do it for how reflections and water work. I do it to see how light might work in fog. Like if you just Googled foggy light right now. There's that one guy, is it Ryan, something Zimmerman, who does the stoplights where the light's stretched. I can't remember here. I think it's
This type
type
stuff?
in. Yeah, so just, will you put this on your screen for a second? So obviously I'm in the desert right now, so my light is not gonna work like this, but if you're photoshopping something and it's in fog, you're gonna want it super atmospheric, and the light's gonna work much differently than the way it does in this. So here the dust might make, but there's no dust blowing around. I mean, I could add some fake dust so that it looks like it'd be catching on those particles, but there's nothing in the air really. So the glow would be much more subtle than this. So
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good to know.
yeah, so it's just like, you know, the weird.
So if you added that glow, so there, what you're basically saying for this piece is the glow is almost unrealistic.
Yeah, so I actually, for another one, because I think we're gonna run through this a few times today, I picked, there's another Adobe stock video that's like super spooky and glowy. And so I think we can, is there someone walking in the, I didn't know that before.
Did you see that?
That is
That
so
is so
creepy.
cool.
I did not notice that when I picked
play
this.
it again. I go to make sure everybody catches this, by the way. Just play it.
Oh my God. Oh, that scared me.
Somebody's,
I have never looked at
somebody's
this
lurking.
big. Actually, maybe we could jokingly do a Bigfoot one. But if we were doing the glow effect here, you'd want a much bigger glow because the vapor in the air would be catching the light particles and you get more light that way. I don't know the technical term for this, but
Yeah, I don't know either.
oh yeah, Beeple is amazing. I
Yes.
just started my 3D. I'm learning 3D now for the first time because my weird thing is I like to learn new programs all the time, and I've been using a mix of Adobe Dimension and then also some C4D for animation, and it's a learning curve. It is much different than what I am used to.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
All right, so
cool, though.
here, we're just gonna keep playing it.
Welcome, Cody Muir. Good to have you here.
All right,
well.
so I guess while we're getting into this, so I'm digging the glow. I'm gonna chill it out a little bit unless I decide to add some sort of like atmospheric smoke, which we can also do. Oh, Rob, see? We're always on the same level. I'm gonna start turning this into like more of like a night scene. So the first thing I wanna do, I guess the order doesn't really matter. The first thing I'm gonna do is drag the curves down, and I like to use this, whatever this little finger adjustment guy is. I don't ever do it calculated the way everyone else does. I'm a big eyeballer of I'm eyeballing out, if you will. Just kidding.
So you're
I'm
clicking
so
like
sorry.
directly on a midtone.
Yeah, I
Is
just
what you're
click.
doing?
So right now, what I usually do is I click on usually either a midtone for these or a darker area, and I just start to drag that down.
Drag
so
that down.
It looks a little bit darker.
That makes much more sense. I don't like working off of the image. You're working directly.
No,
on
and
the
sometimes
image.
it takes some trial and error where I'll grab the wrong thing, but you can always just undo and start over again. So trial and error is big in my workflow. Ooh, unsolved mysteries. See, I gotta watch all this stuff to figure out where it's from.
I haven't heard that in ages.
So the other thing that, this is already a pretty blue image, but in movies, I like to joke, especially Twilight. I don't know if you guys have seen Twilight, but they used day to night a lot, but it was the fakest day to night I've ever seen because it was so blue. But the way the film industry depicts nighttime, it's always a bluey glow, like you're running in blue lit woods instead of pitch black like real life. So
It's
I
too like unrealistically blue. That's
yeah,
what
well, in
makes
that
you-
one movie. But in other movies, it's a little bit more subtle. I also, if you want to go like Blade Runner-y, you want to add like oranges for like the desert scapes. But what I like to do is I add in photo filters. So if I click on this, I don't want a warming filter. I'd usually put in a cooling filter, and it just, I don't know why, but this looks more like nighttime to me, probably because of movies, than this.
Yeah, it does. Question for you.
Yeah.
Do you work at all with color lookup tables? LUTs?
No, I don't know what
Can
that
I
is.
show it to you really
Yeah,
fast?
for sure.
So just turn those off, at least one of those, like the blue, the color cast.
I'll start where I'm supposed to be.
Go to the
Is this like an Adobe thing?
Yeah.
What?
So right down here.
Guys, we're all learning together.
We're learning. It's kind of color lookup. It's kind of behind me.
I have never clicked
There we
this
go.
button.
Thank you. So over there,
Wait,
on the other side, color lookup is a layer we're going to add. So this simulates film, but there's some cool. It's like almost like adding an Instagram type thing. And then I'll let you pick, but you can just kind of drop down and do.
Wait, so what is foggy night?
Let's try foggy night.
Does that make it like kind of foggy looking?
It's a little extreme.
He is.
But if you.
Oh, this is super cool. Moonlight. Whoa.
A little extreme.
Horror blue. Oh, this is like film effects. So can you download more of these? I bet there's people.
Yeah.
So there's someone who did a GitHub. Someone coded shortcuts for the timeline. So there's little buttons that will split your frames up and stuff. And I saw that today when I was looking up some of this stuff, and I was like, it's crazy what people can do.
A script.
To just make the process more efficient.
But essentially, so what this is people have used a number of adjustment layers, and then you can make your own.
Oh, I like this
lookup
one.
table.
This is kind of like, and is this a layer I can like toggle off? I can make it like 50%.
Yep. But so the reason, so a little bit of background on these lookup tables, they come from the video and film industry.
Yeah.
If everybody's using different systems, they can just take this LUT, this lookup table, and all the footage is going to match.
Okay,
So it's
this
like
makes
an
sense.
independent little.
Okay.
So that's why they're all, half of them
I
are
wonder
named.
what it looks like when it works together. See, now this makes it feel more like this was shot on like 35 millimeter. Because it picks up on those reds. Oh, this is super cool. I'm definitely gonna start adding this into my process.
Yeah,
I need to
isn't
like
it?
study it more though. I need to go through and see what,
And then if you wanted to.
I bet I can even play with like luminosity masks and stuff. Oh yeah, we're getting weird.
And even if you could even make, if you decide that you're kind of making your own adjustment layers, and you have a bunch of adjustment layers that turn something day to night, you can literally make your own lookup table and then just go to the export and then save out your own LUT and use that
So
across
it's kind
files
of
if you
like
wanted to.
it's a version of an action almost. So if you're saving your whole process for this color grading technique and then you don't want to start it all over again, it'll save.
Yeah, it'll
do it for you.
It'll save all these. If you add a number of these or whatever, then you can put it in a LUT. The only problem with that is that it actually, you can't really edit it. You can only adjust the transparency.
Okay.
But you can add a couple of those and.
All right, yeah, I just started getting into color grading a lot more heavily, which is a whole spectrum of Photoshop tutorials, which is super, like, in the nitty-gritty of just time-consuming, like, masking in individual, like, skin tones versus the cloth versus the background versus the hair.
Yeah.
And each one has its own luminosity masks. So that's been for another time.
I like it. I know a lot of people also will use camera raw filters.
Yes. I've been using that a little bit for grain because I've been liking it better than noise a little bit, but I kind of go all over the place.
This is looking really good.
Yeah, so there's
I
another
like how
thing.
your graphics match your timeline.
You're
so
it is.
coordinated.
Very color coordinated. So I'm gonna do another adjustment mask, and this was already shot at dusk, so you wouldn't necessarily need to do this, but if you guys are trying this at home, you bring the curves down, you plop either a blue photo filter or this color, what is this called again? Color lookup?
Yeah, color lookup.
And you play with getting it to look a little bit more like nighttime, and let's say it's still just a little bit too bright. Sometimes I just add a solid color, definitely not pink. I just kind of like scrub into some weird like dark blue. And then I will put that at like 10% or something. And then I also like to use it with, I believe, linear light. And it doesn't really matter the order of these, but I've got a weird way that I do it. So like if it was a really bright image,
Okay.
you can see it's just adding a little bit more darkness without making a really harsh curve drop. Because you don't want to push this too much or it'll turn everything, all these details, and like now even some of these details are turning black, so I might even lighten the curves a little bit. But I usually don't do this more than 10. because I think it starts to look fake. And then you'll see I've also, my color lookup is bigger than the rest of my timeline now. I wonder if there's a way where I can make it so it auto trims.
Should be.
Oh, you know what it is? It's because these were still.
And then
Whoopsie-daisy.
you can shorten your timeline.
Yes, so in my timeline options, I also made it, for those of you who tuned in more recently, I dragged a video in and I essentially rotoscoped it with selecting and filling frame by frame. But I didn't want to do 30 frames per second because we'd still be filling stuff right now. So I went to set timeline frame rate, and I made it 12 frames per second so that I don't have to fill as many of these guys. But what I'm going to do tonight is, because almost everything is 29.97 or 30 frames per second, including Instagram, I'm definitely going to go back in and I'm going to rework this and show you guys tomorrow what I do, but at 30 frames per second, but without you guys having to watch me fill each frame one at a time. Maybe I can even find, like, I might be able to find a way to do it with an action. I'll let you guys know. I'm gonna be in the zone later. Yeah, that's what happens every time. So yeah, all right.
So Dara asks, when you add a layer to the layer panel, does it also add it to the timeline?
It does, yes. And sometimes there's a funky thing where it hasn't happened to me. If I import, I wonder if let's try importing. There's a way to do it where it'll accidentally, I'm not for some reason in a video group, but a lot of times this will be called video group 1. And if you want a layer to go on top, sometimes it'll go next to it. I don't know how to make it happen right now, but you just drag it out in this panel. I mostly still only touch this panel instead of this panel until I get to animating. So there's ways to animate with keyframes down here, which we'll get into tomorrow. But in today's lesson, we're just rotoscoping, and then I'm showing you what you can do with this thing that you've made. So you've essentially doodled over each frame of this on a new empty frame or an empty video layer. And then what we're doing is we're not actually touching any of the pixels from that. So if I toggle everything off, I use this weird pink. And so I just added blending options, and then I also did a clipping mask with this noise, which we'll bring back in. I'm seeing that. I know what happened here. So my blending modes are overtaking my clipping mask in the hierarchy. So what I would have to do is be really I think, if there's anyone else here who, I'm gonna do a little test really quickly where he's really glowing now. Where I'm actually gonna turn this into a smart object. Which this is where we get into the nitty gritty. And that's fine, because I can always double click him and he opens up.
So it got rid of...
Oh, it's the glow. Okay. Undo. So now I know I'm going to have to do this as separate. Get rid of the outer glow, because that's counting it. I'm going to turn this into a smart object, and then I'm going to add the glow to the smart object. Yeah, so this, and then blending options, unless, is that also going to make it glow? No, that seems to be working this time. Worst comes to worst, I don't like doing that, but sometimes I do have to duplicate and have one where, like the outer glow layer, and then one which is the layer that'll have the clipping mask in it on top. Which might actually be a smarter way to do this, but what I wanted to do was I want to make it so that I don't like how dark the scribbly effect is, so I figured maybe with screen or something else I can get some of that texture in without it being on a black background. So he kind of has the TV.
What you want, right?
He's still driving me nuts that this is a little large and pixelated, but we'll get there. There's another thing that would be kind of cool to add into this, especially if we do something in the smoky area, and that's to sample some of what they did in Blade Runner with that holographic woman with the glitchiness in her projections, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Because ultimately what you're trying to do is...
I mean, I almost wonder, he could just, like, some of that could also be, I wonder what it would have been like.
You basically want that black transparent.
Yeah,
Right.
and see, I'm not sure what color I want underneath it yet, so this is, we're all kind of winging it together. Oh, 20 minutes left. You
I
guys better be
think-
submitting your GIFs.
Yeah. So far, looks like we have, let me just refresh this. We have 1 entry, so the chances of their winning is 100% right now.
All right, so I'm gonna go. I'm thinking right now about how I want to do this. I guess I could have one. I guess I got to figure out ahead of time what color I want in the background. So if I go to this, this is going to be a funky process for this, but I want to see what it's like to do black. I'm going to save that. He should be black in here now. I love smart objects. All right, so then this is on normal. I'm gonna just try lighten. And then I'm also gonna try lighten. All right, so now he's just scribbly on the background. Maybe I'm digging that.
Yeah.
Or he's just made of like molecules. I don't know.
like- I
This kind
like-
of reminds me of like those weird, like the animations we watched when we were kids.
I like it.
So I think I will make the noise a lot smaller, even though the funny thing is no one else is going to realize what's happening here. This is what always happens. I'm photoshopping at like 700% usually, and then it goes on Instagram and it's this big.
Yeah, and it's just like all blurry, like loses all the detail.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back in. So this is him glowing. I might still use that as a different type of workflow, but for now I'm going to hide that. So I can keep it for if I want to just change my mind and do that later, which I do all the time. But for now, let's work with this weird little scribbly guy, because...
Let's do it. Weird little scribbly guy, to use the technical term.
Yeah. So...
And yes, we are making a space cowboy ghost in Photoshop using the timeline. Going to output an animated GIF. Feel free to check out the challenge tab. And what's cool is you can actually, I like that you can actually now add multiple effects. Like you could have multiple outer glows
Yeah.
if you wanted to. So you could have one that's set to overlay,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, that's the thing is I try to do everything I try to go as far as possible without touching a pixel. So in this, this guy is made of pixels because I use the fill tool, but
This is so much easier to...
yeah, this
Work
is
with.
just, for the sake of time. So I also like using this little eyedropper tool, and I try to select colors from my image for some of these. I think maybe some of these like purples or pinks would be kind of sick. I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit. All right, so he's kind of glowing right now. Another
That's
thing,
just gluing the outer edge, right?
and the inside a little bit, but I made the inside really subtle. So maybe I need to, like you can see it,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
which adds some of the effect I want. I think I need my green to be a lot smaller though, but this is gonna drag us down in our load time because I am doubling down on pixels now. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go crazy and make this even tinier.
So if you're just joining us, we are with the one and only Victoria Siemer. For the next, we have you for another 45 minutes, but only 15 minutes
This
to
is
enter the
actually kind of
challenge.
sick. This is okay. So this is
Ooh.
another weird thing that happens all the time when I'm in Photoshop. I will do something on accident, and it'll turn out to be what I wanted the whole time, or not what I wanted the whole time, but it ends
Just
up being the
cool.
final output.
And
So
you're just playing around, really.
I have never thought to do it this way. But if I actually toggle off my texture and I made the base fill black and then set it to what was it, lighten? I set it to lighten. The only thing that's going to show through now are these effects that I've used, and it does add a really cool
I love it.
effect, which I've never done before. So like,
William Workman likes it too.
yeah, now
Likes
I'm
it a lot.
attached to this story of my life.
Precious.
What's going to happen is I'm going to make it both ways, though.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to have like 6 options, and then I'm going to text all my friends asking them which one they like better, and they're all going to give me different answers.
And you're like, thanks, everybody. Can we just be on one page here? But it sounds like people really like this, which is good.
Yeah. So
And
like this is really cool. All right, so
It is
before
cool. Inner glow, outer glow, black layer. That black pixels are that layer.
yeah,
to
so
lighten,
I turned
which makes it
my
disappear.
which actually now we do know for sure. I turned my essentially what is this? This was our empty timeline layer that I kept filling frame by frame. I turned it into a smart object, and the smart object is still frame by frame animating. So
And
you can do that.
Is it looping?
Yeah, so you can
endlessly?
see it's actually over here. This is my original. I turned this into a smart object because I wanted to separate the fill, because if I pick a fill here, it's going to overtake the clipping mask. But now we're not even looking at the clipping mask, so it was for nothing.
Well, no, we taught people
Just in
clipping
case.
masks.
Just in case.
Maybe
though.
you learned. Maybe you learned about.
Maybe
clipping
we'll make it
masks.
more subtle. Maybe it's just like too obnoxiously. Now this is also, I would want this to be seamless, but right now what I'm doing is we've created this little, this cowboy, so I can figure out how I want him to appear. And then what I'm gonna probably do is isolate a different type of silhouette and present that to you guys tomorrow, because a cowboy dancing is not necessarily like
It's fun for us.
what I want living on my feed, but you never know. It could be for a music video. Are you guys in a band? I have no musical talent, so I have 2 guitars, but no musical talent.
I don't have any.
I don't know why I compulsively buy music things.
I had a guitar too. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn guitar.
Nope.
No, nothing.
Nope.
So we got a full day ahead of us. Again, we have you for another 40 minutes. Shauna Lynn's going to be up next with Michael Jarrett. We have Toot Vid, otherwise known as Nathaniel Dodson. So again, we'll just kind of click through the schedule. Welcome, Lucius, Sonia. Again, we have Victoria with us doing animation in Photoshop of all places. Toot Vid's up, Nathaniel Dodson. Shauna Lynn working in Photoshop a different way. Jesse and Taylor from Jess 3 with Michael. So
Oh yeah.
covering the gamut of fun things today.
So this is kind of cool. So this is actually technically, I think this is the first time I've ever rotoscoped in Photoshop, but it is a lot easier than I anticipated. All right, so I'm
working.
essentially letting it render right now, and then once it's like, it's essentially using my RAM to render each preview, and then once it's loaded a few times, it obviously starts rendering it a little bit closer to real time. Other than you can see down here when it's red, which it literally just stopped doing. Oh, wait, no, it's red again.
Oh, so it's dropping.
That's when it's dropping. So that's when you know if it starts to look laggy, it's not necessarily you. It'll be fine on export, but yeah, sometimes it lags, especially if you don't have like a souped up crazy PC with graphic cards. I'm working on she's a pretty like heavily loaded up MacBook Pro, but there's still only so much you can do.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm kind of digging this. I like the scribbly effect. I still would tweak it. I think I would even make it a little bit smaller, but I do need to think about this as being exported for Instagram, because that's where most of my stuff lives. And so I want to keep that in mind, because most Instagram will probably be like this big, where I'm even losing some of that, like some of the hat. So some of these little like nuanced details will probably look illegible in its super tiny form and even distracting. What's weird is the middle shadow in this. It almost looks like he's standing backwards instead of forwards. Like there's it's tricking me into feeling like there's depth to this, but there's not. So we do need to figure out the positioning now, because I've set up.
Do you need to add any sort of like glow at his feet?
That's what I'm about to do. So someone's like, maybe we should move him up. The reason I moved him further back is because I wanted to show you guys sort of how the light might play on the image, because we're using a still image as our background, and then we put a video in and traced it, And now we've got this little rotoscope guy, but the background still needs some finessing. So what?
And maybe it is, I think you're right, it's almost like looking like kind of where the mountains are, almost make it look like the back of his collar or something. Somebody mentions,
it's
like,
weird.
do you move him down or do you move him
Well, I was
a
thinking
little bit?
about either moving him further back, because what I really want to do is show you guys this technique in the atmosphere. So what we've done here, for anyone who tuned in late, really quickly, is this is the image. Originally, it's at dusk, so it's a little bit easier to do the day to night technique on. But what I've done is I added a 10% fill of like a navy blue with, I think, linear light. And then I brought the curves down a little bit. And then I did what everyone likes to do in movies, slapped a blue filter on it, because for some reason that looks like nighttime.
I'm going to start looking for that, because now that you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, they probably did shoot that during the day.
And then I know there's another way to do this, but I'm going to duplicate my background layer, and I'm going to move it up. And then I'm going to click this mask layer, and I'm going to delete everything out, because I like to paint in my light. And so what I'm going to do is work with the eraser. I'm going to bring my hardness way down.
This is going to be fun.
I also like to use a flow of like 2%, 3% max, because you really got to take your time with painting in the light. And if I was smart, I'd be labeling all these layers, but I'm not, so. All right, so I'm gonna start just like testing some things out here. So there's a few ways to do this. So you can already see a little bit of a change where the ground is now illuminated around him. I'm gonna toggle it on and off. And so what I'm doing is I'm not, I duplicated the background, but I'm using a mask layer so that I'm inevitably probably gonna go back and keep tweaking things like this I would probably like crank the flow to like 5% and make sure like the plants have little highlights, and like there's probably little rocks where I'd actually go in and I'd like delete out so there'd be shadows. And so you really get into painting on and taking off. It's a process that takes me a nice chunk of time normally, so.
Yeah, I really love that. I want to make sure everybody gets that, because like some people would just do like a glow, or let's just go ahead and paint some white there, right?
Yeah,
and then
no.
play with layer modes, but you actually have the image, so you can even burn
Well, that's the beauty.
and dodge.
Yeah.
And all
Well,
that
so what
fun
I do
stuff.
is because dodge and burn still changes the pixels, what I do is I go into curves, but I slam that in a clipping mask, and then I can pull up the highlights of my image. And so what it's doing is it's using the colors and the light in your images as the basis for what we're doing here. I could paint, we can try it right now. What was I haven't done this in a while, so like an empty layer, and then I already have my little, I mean, you could probably do something like this, but, oh, Jesus. And then what would I do, like a light?
Yeah, do like overlay. Or something.
And it works, but you can see it's messing with the colors of the image below. So what I like to do is I try to really just base it from my image. Like, actually, I'm not going to undo that. Let's look at the difference between this versus this. This is just, it's much harsher. So when I was doing, I like to do like 5 or 6 tutorials of the same technique before I figure out how I'm gonna use it. And so one of them was painting with like the paintbrush. Another one was using dodge and burn. And after a while, I think a lot of the tutorials that I was watching when I figured out how to do this were from Photoshop before CC. So there's a lot more now with not touching pixels. And so I've sort of, once you've done something a couple times, you'll be like, wait a second, there's actually a better way to do this. And so I've put it into my own workflow now. And so now when I teach people, I try to teach without touching pixels as much as possible. And also using these mask layers as much as possible, because it's so much easier to go back in and be like, oh no, I messed up. And you hit the X as a shortcut to toggle between negative and positive painting or erasing. But I would definitely set this as black, otherwise it's going to erase at like a gray. Yeah, and so that's why we duplicate the background, and then we just put it above these other layers. And then I like to use, if I need it brighter or anything else, I'll just use adjustment layers, and I'll just clip them into my highlight layer.
Yeah.
No, and so there's like little things I already noticed, like I think the light.
And you'd have to like reference, like you've done this before, but also I think you'd probably need some real photo references on how that light should act.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the greatest things is I have this one series where I actually do this for real.
By the way, real fast, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, get your entries in. You did notice that the challenge timer turned to red, so we're less than 5 minutes. And guess what? We only have one entry, so their odds are looking fantastic. So again, select the challenge tab. It's going to be creating an extreme sport.
I know you guys are gifted and talented.
GIF?
Ba-doom-tsh.
Oh, I like it. Gifted.
So I actually have a series I've done where the lighting in this I actually painted by setting up my camera with a long exposure and putting a gel over. It's funny that I bought expensive lights, and the one thing I like to use instead, I didn't bring it with me, is this Duracell headlamp. That's really? $20.
Okay.
9 times out of 10. I'm kind of embarrassed because people are going to see some of my process next week, and I really like to do those like weird like hacks instead of doing what a professional photographer would do.
People would love to take you're doing basically like I don't know if it's photo
Nobody
walk,
needs all that fancy pants equipment.
Yeah, I love it. Just some $20 like headlamp at night. You just like shining it down a dark road at night.
So this is all painted. This is a long exposure. I've got a tripod, and then I've got a pink gel on a light, and I'm just painting it in. And then I added the text and a little bit of glow in post, and there's little touch-ups. Like I inevitably, every time I'm somewhere shooting, there's trash, and it like bothers me. So yeah, so that's another way to do it. Is I talked about this before, but I like to do studies where I do stuff for real, and then I look at how the light would work, and then I add that to my process, so it goes back and forth, where my Photoshop technique gets a little bit more realistic every time I try something in real life.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good. It's like those.
Even though, like, obviously this is not real, but I'm trying to get like Blade Runner fake, not like Twilight fake.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know, with my making these weird surreal things appear pretty real. Also, because I have over 200,000 Instagram followers, and they love to find mistakes.
Thanks.
I have to there's a whole
people.
QA system to make sure.
But what I think is funny about all of this is we're using a clip from some sci-fi movie in the 80s as our reference, which is awesome, by the way. I'm like, it's just kind of cool. Like,
so I've got this guy. So there's a couple things about this now. So I could, tweak how I want this filled. I could turn off my noise layers if we wanted to keep them kind of, but now the light doesn't match this guy. Mm-hmm. So I would change my lighting. So I think I set the light up to look a little bit more like this. I would nuance it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
but
man.
we could export it this way, but what's going to bother me is that there's so much motion in the body with the noise now, this scribbling, if you will, that I need my shadow to also scribble.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it doesn't look right to me right now.
What if, here's another thought, like what if the glow comes from the center? So we don't have the brightest parts being on the edge, but they come from the center of his soul.
Well, you can, boop.
Yeah. Oh, that got freaky.
I wish it would go into his legs more.
Yeah.
His poor little legs.
What did you just do, though? What did you just...
Okay, so this is you can either source, just like you said, you can either set up your glow from the center or
I
from
love
the
it.
edge.
I've never known about this. This
So-
is good.
My biggest learnings in Photoshop are these weird panels where when you first learn it, you're like, oh, whatever. And then when you really start digging into them, you're like, holy moly, there is so much stuff that I can do with this without touching pixels.
Yeah, that's what's
Which
nice
is pretty
about these
sweet.
layer effects.
And then the other thing I'm actually thinking is,
I like that. I like his soul was glowing.
I feel like this dude needs a clipping mask. I use clipping masks like there's no tomorrow. I actually want the noise to kind of start getting some weird effects to it. So this like Freddy Krueger looking dude. So I clipped in a photo filter again just to kind of see.
Play with some colors.
Yeah, you can also like sample colors from the background, which I like to do sometimes. But I think maybe I'll just make him.
He's made up of tiny little, like little atoms, little particles.
Yeah,
So
and I'm
welcome
gonna
if
make
you're
them
new to
even tinier.
joining us.
Ooh, 11 p.m. It is past your bedtime. But thanks for
Oh,
hanging
yeah,
out.
where are you? Where do you live? Abinand. Always curious. We're here in beautiful San Francisco. It's actually really nice out today. It's kind of awesome.
All right, there's a bunch of crazy ways I can do this. So, oh God. All right, so there's, actually, we're just gonna, there's the one way we're gonna try this, where I'm gonna bring this noise back in again, because I totally shrunk it last time. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try some stuff, and I don't know if it's gonna work out, but we have 30 minutes, so.
I love trying things live. Welcome, Axel from Philippines. It must be super late there or early in the morning. Gosh, I don't even know what time
It
it
is
would be.
almost 12 hours different, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Right? Isn't it? Is it like
10
1:31 a.m.?
One.
Woo! Past my bedtime.
Thanks for staying up late. Buenos Aires in the house. Good to have you.
Oh, that is
Germany.
not realistic, guys.
It's
This
fun though.
is turning into some weird something. It's turning into something.
Yeah. I still like it. I mean, it looks like he's like materializing of all the particles like from around him.
I'm just trying to see if I can get some sort of texture. Oh, this is going to take forever to load now. I'm sorry, computer.
What up, Jonathan from Santa Monica? Good to have you here. Daniel's really liking the design.
Yeah, it is kind of like good timing with Westworld. That was not my intention. We noticed some funny things about some of these Adobe stock guys, so we decided that this cowboy was the safest approach. Oh wait, do I have a
Welcome, Glenn.
do I
from
have a
St.
moment
Petersburg.
of? Ooh, I have a frame.
You should save the file too.
I should save the file, but you know what the greatest part about Adobe CC is? It does save the day with autosave from time to time.
Yeah.
Save as.
It's true.
Save as Circle of Doom.
Remember,
Just
like 10 years ago, I feel like I would lose files on the regular. Like something would crash, and you're like, I guess I got to do this all over again. We don't really deal with that much these days.
Not as much, but that was the inspiration for the series that made me as internet famous as I became on the gram, is that Photoshop crashed on me and gave me an error message, and I screenshotted it because I was going to make a joke about Photoshop breaking my heart. Like that's the first one. And then while I was doing my Twitter joke, I realized that I could actually make something a lot cooler with it, so I started making it these error messages that have to do with real life. So that kind of blew out into its own thing. The funniest thing now is when I redo them, I have to redo the OS in Illustrator every time or I get called out. Someone will be like, what is this, like lion? Which
Oh, give me a break. I'm like, yeah, it's landed. Well, yeah, whatever. I don't, like, that's the, good for you. Thank
right,
goodness
so-
for pros. Let's go switch back to your screen. Sorry about
So
that.
let's, now we've got the background scribbly a little bit. The scribbles need to be smaller, but I like that it has some of that motion. It doesn't need to be as extreme as the motion in the guy, but I think to pull off the effect, I'd like for the background to have some of that, where you can see it now. The whole background's kind of got that noise.
I love it.
And the noise is still
I love it.
I would make it even more subtle, so subtle that Instagram definitely will not be able to read it, but we're doing our best. The other thing that's a little bit funky on the gram is that when things get compressed and stuff like this has, it has a lot of gradients, first of all, because I'm painting the light to shadow, and then it's also a sunset photo, so it's got gradients. And so Instagram's compression does not play well with images that have a lot of this noisy motion. So that'll be a funny thing where I figure out a way to export this so it doesn't get murdered when I upload it. And I have a few tricks that I'm gonna show you guys. If we don't have time today, I'll show you tomorrow. But yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. The banting. Bands make me sad. Isn't that a rap song? Bands make them dance.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're cooler than I am. You would know.
All right, so I've got this. I might even turn this down. It's at 10%. I'm gonna make it 5%. I'm like generally pretty happy. We've come up with something cool in 2 hours. I hope you guys learned a lot.
I love it. Yes.
I've never rotoscoped in Photoshop before, so this was a really fun learning for me. I'm glad you guys were bearing with me for that 15, 20 minutes that I was just step by step filling in each guy. But I think
it didn't even take that long. Like, you went through it pretty fast.
So here's the weird thing. So there's 2 ways we can do this. Let's say we're going on Twitter. I don't want to deal with a video because videos don't autoplay on mobile unless you're connected to Wi-Fi. I know way too much about that stuff now. I like to use the old school legacy save for web. I'm stuck in the past, I guess.
No, it's what you want. Yeah, this is fine.
So also, my background image is 8,000 pixels wide. So that is way too big for a GIF and for Instagram.
I did the same thing earlier today.
Whoops. So now,
save. Do you save save a full res and then?
So here's the complicated thing, though. If I shrink the canvas right now, all of my blending modes get screwed up because it's based on pixels. So it's based on the amount of pixels in this right now. So my glow is going to get crazy. I'm going to show you image.
You're saying the glows don't resize?
No, unless they do now, but I'm pretty sure they don't. We're going to go down to like a max of like.
So thank you so much. You can see the challenge timer went away because the challenge is up. So we have about 6 entries that I'm looking at. We'll review those in a second. But thank you, Peter, and everybody Ryan, who's entered their designs in the challenge, their animations.
Oh yeah, that one's super sick. All right, so this is a lot smaller. I guess my glow definitely, some wonky stuff happened. So it's based on pixels, and I don't know if this will maybe someday change where we can have it be based on percentages instead of pixels, because that's the way a lot of things. I'm also a UI designer for web, so I've moved away from pixels even on that front where everything's based on percentages now, so that it is more flexible for responsive design. So it would be interesting to see what might happen if the layer panel eventually went to percentages instead of pixels, because then it would resize. So if it was 18% of the picture and I shrunk the picture, it would still be 18%.
Well, what it should be is it should scale effects with canvas. Like, so in Illustrator, it is that way. Like, you can scale strokes with the design.
I mean, maybe they just weren't prepared for people to blow it out in the ways that, like, we're using them now. Where, like, it just wasn't Photoshop team, hello.
Yeah, no, I'm just double checking it to see if there's a scale effects with canvas is a checkbox.
So I hope now I can have my face up looking at the chat while I'm doing these two. I'm going to show you guys 2 ways to export. The first one will be a GIF, which I like to use for Twitter because it autoplays if it's under 7 megabytes. I also like it for Tumblr and a couple other weird places. And then we'll also export a video for Instagram because they don't like GIFs. So I like to save for web legacy. This is going to pop open.
So to answer Jason's questions, can you tweak the output size in the export
You can,
screen?
but because mine was 8,000 pixels wide and I'm telling it to load in this panel, my panel was, I don't know if you guys saw that flash of pink. That was because my file was way too big for my computer to be able to handle it right now. So it crashes and burns. So it's easier to just resize and then open the panel. Otherwise, you're going to be dragging. Like even when I go into GIF now, oh wow, I only have 13 frames. I really got lazy.
No, I love it. That means this will be easy to...
So I'm gonna just open this. So it's
Yeehaw.
not, so I like to use a noise dither because it helps make it so there's not banding because there's a lot of gradients in this. And I'm surprised that there's not more banding in this because it is 256, only 256 colors, and I feel like there'd be way more colors than that in this image, but for some reason, it is working with me, and it's a very small GIF because we only did 13 frames, which is really actually spectacular.
And you did a great job. Like, I know
but
there's
the noise looks so much cooler in the GIF than it will in the video export. So I might add noise to my video export. Thanks, guys. I'm glad. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope that this was... Sorry my head was down the whole time.
Yeah, how does everybody like it? Is it working for everyone? This is what at least 6 people did that are watching today because we have 6 entries in for the challenge that we'll review. But this is the process they did.
Don't really always know what these do, but I've been working in perceptual for a while and it works out. Sometimes I just change all the settings over and over again until it works.
And then after a while you're like, I should probably read
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save. The weird thing is also it's gonna look a lot faster when I drag it into a browser. So I'm gonna just put my cowboy GIF. I'm gonna save this. It's gonna take a second. It's surprisingly smaller than I anticipated, so we'll be moving into exporting the video a lot quicker. All right, so this is magical. It's wonderful. Let's pretend it's done, even though I'm definitely gonna freak out over this for the next 8 hours after I leave here. I'm gonna click this hamburger in the timeline panel, which again, you can open up with window timeline. And now that I have everything I like and I've played it a few times to make sure that generally this is the way I want it to look, I go down to render video. You can also do that through file, export, render video. If you, either or. I'm just gonna do it from down here. And then this pops up essentially like an encoder, Adobe Media Encoder timeline. Do not use Photoshop image sequence. I'd make sure that it's set to media encoder. And then for Instagram, you want it set to
H264, yeah.
And I have a bunch. I don't know if I have a whole separate way of setting this up that I have saved for After Effects in the actual media encoder thing, but because that's not a part of this, I might be able to save one.
Right?
But high quality might have a bit rate that's still too high for Instagram, but I'm unsure. So what I like to do is the videos need to be, I think, at least 3 seconds or something, but up to 60 seconds. And in Instagram for the feed, and then for Instagram stories, it's 15 seconds as a max. And I don't think there's a minimum. And
then you have to have certain minimum resolutions.
Yeah, so here's the weird thing. When you Google this, you're going to get 100 contradictory answers about what Instagram needs to not murder your file. I found that do not make anything wider than 1024 because it gets compressed again. And some people said to even not have the length more than 1024. So if I'm doing a vertical video to make it 600 pixels wide, but I can't get down with that. So I still make my my width as a max, no matter how high the piece is 1024. Right now we actually have something under that, so it doesn't really matter.
Check these out.
Oh yeah, okay. So, but then you would render.
Render.
Boom. So while that's rendering.
And again, for this,
You gotta.
Oh, we got a couple more that came in. All right.
Oh, the bubbles are pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool. It did an export. You showed us exporting animated GIFs.
It's like a little boomerang thing.
Video. Yeah, this will be fun. But we're going to dive into the challenge. So there is the challenge tab. We're all talking about extreme sports.
Yeah.
Could be really whatever you want. We just need, interpret that how you will. Rollerblading, whatever the case may be. Let's dive into this.
All right.
So we'll start down here. This is our first entry. The only entry we had for a little bit. Looks like this one's changed some. This is getting really interesting. And
nice.
let me just make sure that this is all refreshed.
And tomorrow I'll show you guys how to actually what you did earlier with the mouse, how to keyframe it so that he's smoothly parachuting down, if you will. That will be a fun one for tomorrow.
No, he's definitely hit. He has his bit rate correct. Obviously, it's all kind of crunched down and can probably go anywhere because it's pretty small. But thanks, David. Looks like we got somebody parachuting. I'm diving into this next one. Steve Santiago.
Oh, nice.
Little rock climbing. Looks
this kind of reminds me of that trend with the old school net art vibe where people are getting down with those sort of legacy looking GIFs.
Yeah. Cool. Steve Santiago, good stuff. Oh yeah, check this out. Darbaz. Darbaz, are you with us?
This is pretty sweet.
Ooh, I like it. Again, exported out. Sorry about that. Looping forever. Pretty good.
Can I use Liquify on Photoshop Timeline? So I've been doing some of, who's the guy who, Balgasm, who does those really crazy, awesome posters on Behance. I feel like if you're on Behance, you probably know who that is. And he does a lot of stuff in Liquify, and I am curious if some of that would go, you might have to do it over and over again. So you liquefy a little bit, make a frame, liquefy a little bit, make a frame. I don't think you could liquefy it. We'll test it. Honestly, we'll test it tomorrow. Tune in.
It's good to look at the different properties. When you add an effect, some of them, you can do some stuff via the timeline if you just twirl down the properties. But we'll go over that tomorrow. So Ryan Martinez, we got, a skiing Santa with the word space in his trail. That's cool.
You can rotate in video timeline for sure. If you look me up on YouTube, I actually have a tutorial where it is a Photoshop animation for a coffee cup manipulation, and it uses rotate. So I would look at that.
You have to pick a winner. By
what?
The way.
No, I thought it just auto picks. You can't do me like that.
I will do we'll basically decide as a committee.
We'll flip a pillow.
Yeah, we'll flip it either PS or okay. So, but this is pretty sweet, huh? Look, this is awesome. Peter Chan, look at that.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Drops them off. Look at this transition, though.
Oh, wow.
Like
See,
here,
you've got some editing chops. This
right
is next
here,
level.
That?
You come on down, teach us.
Killing it. Peter, are you with us? We'd love to hear from you. And I like this one, Liam Barr. Look at
I
his skull.
definitely love the
You see
skulls flipping around.
Look at
Yeah,
it flip upside down.
that's awesome.
Liam, great job. Fantastic. Let's take a look at this next one. Looks like it's a motorcycle. Andrea.
Nice.
Let's hit a refresh.
You know what it is? You just have to make sure that you're setting. It depends on what you want.
Did they crash?
It seems like it. Yeah. And then if you want, it would just loop.
Bam. That's
Nice.
all we want you to
Yeah.
do is again, we're just giving people an opportunity to, ooh, what did these people do?
I know, I like this. This is a very
That's just a
abstract,
friendly placeholder.
an abstraction version of extreme sports.
Yeah.
I'm into
Adobe
it.
Live wins. Because this is, I don't know who made this. Huh?
Oh, I like it.
Tim. Tim, that is super fun. And looks like we have, a good 7 entries. Including Tim's. Tim, you
It
always
was done
win.
frame by frame. Liam, I'm proud of you.
Where is
Just go on my YouTube. You can see the, if you go on youtube.com/Witchoria, there's one where you can it'll show you how to rotate next time without needing to do it frame by frame, which does come in handy. I have also looked back at some of my things and been like, I can't believe I did this one at a time. It's me hitting my head against the keyboard.
Oh, there we go. Full screen. Let's see if I can click to the next one in this interface. Maybe not so much.
I guess while I'm here, I should just double check to make sure my export things.
All right, so help me out. So we also want to know if it's your first time animating something in Photoshop. Would love to hear about that, because again, that's the reason for these challenges. It's just to get people, you know, to try new things and to give them 1 year of Creative Cloud, because might as well have a chance to win something.
I don't know. I'm having a really hard time deciding. I really like the skateboard with the flipping skull.
Liam did a great job. Super fun.
Liam, I think I saw that one come in a little bit earlier. But then there's also big ups to this.
Peter Chan, are you with us?
This parachute one, which makes me really split on how. Now this gives me a better understanding of how I could do some manipulations and have them have that. Is it called an infinite loop? Is that the effect of what that is? Where things are. Like this could essentially be an infinite. You know those videos where it like keeps going through like a
going inside.
Yeah. Warpole is not a word, is it?
Warpole?
Wormhole?
Thank you, Snowboarding Santa. I really like this one too. I just think this is kind of cool. Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like, look, these wheels are even look like they're moving. So, good job there. Steve's as well. We have our rock climber. See that load up. And we will pick one here in a second. That's good. Parachuter, thank you so much, David, which was the first one being entered in this contest. So it looks like we have it narrowed down. First of all, I think we had, like, I would say my top 3 are the skateboarder, these 2 skateboarders, and then this one.
Yeah. I mean, I like just the little attention. Also the fact that now I know that Liam, did the head rotating frame by frame instead of using the timeline rotation. It's just like, whew.
Yeah,
that was time consuming.
Take some
Liam,
work.
that was time consuming.
Good job, Liam. All right.
Oh God, I don't know.
So, what do you think? Parachuter or skateboarder?
No. Where's the green screen thing so I can hide?
I don't mean to make you out to be like the bad guy, because you're picking a winner. You're not picking.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Skateboarder.
Skateboarder wins. Congratulations, Liam. Liam Barr, you are a winner of 1 year of Creative Cloud. Yay! Shout out to everybody else. Rocky likes the parachuter is cool too. Yes, but again, I love the skateboarder. I love the fun work with the lines and everything. So, timeline animation, frame by frame.
Was this also rotoscoped, or is this all hand animated, Liam? Like, did you actually draw this character from scratch, or did you do like a tracing method? Just curious.
We'll have to hear in a second. A little bit of delay
if you switch back to me really quickly, I can show you the 2 exports.
Our last 3 minutes. So.
All right. Oh, we're back on me. Okay, so you guys saw right before we announced the winner, and I had a heart attack. That I'm just opening. So I just dragged the GIF export into my browser just to see what it looks like. I think the timing looks actually, somehow my computer is doing a good job showing it realistically. I have in the past, and I'll show you guys tomorrow, had it where I've exported a GIF and the GIF is like 18 times faster than the way it rendered. So it's like,
oh.
So like sometimes I have to add some frames in between.
They're just listening in a really fast song.
But luckily, this one is pretty normal. And then if I look at the video, see the video is slower though. See what I mean? This always happens when I'm playing with the timeline tool. So when I'm exporting for Instagram, I usually actually have a separate PSD with a different frame rate than I do for my GIF, which can get kind of crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
So like he's like, this is actually how fast he was snapping, but the GIF
is a little snappier, if you will.
It is a little bit snappier. Maybe it just looks awkward because it's only 12 frames per second, but.
And it seems like it takes a second for the frames to load for.
Are they? I mean, maybe they're not that different. It's just a little bit. It's a little bit different.
Well, good work. I think that's awesome. Hopefully, we'll again just kind of keep an eye out for your work on the Insta. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not done with the lighting yet, Kevin. I said that beforehand. I'm gonna go through tonight and do a whole a whole thing, but I just wanted to show you guys how to do it so that you can play with
Perfect.
it. But yes, this does need quite a bit of adjusting.
Well, I love your stuff. I'm honored to be sitting next to you and learn from you. We're both kind of
Thanks.
learning together on some of
Yeah.
these things. We got to see you just kind of develop the idea in general. So this is going to be good. I'm glad you're going to be back tomorrow. Yay!
Woo!
Did you have fun, Victoria?
I did, yeah. And so there's a lot of, I hadn't used that empty video timeline, so I'm realizing now that there's a bunch of ways I would do this where there's a lot of stuff that needs to be edited frame by frame, and so I would probably go in and make adjustments on each frame that way, but I'm going to do that tonight, and then tomorrow I'll have a fully baked Photoshop
version.
pie for you guys.
Photoshop pie tomorrow, everybody.
And then we will,
Fantastic.
we'll do something else tomorrow.
Yeah, we have
also.
you for 3 days. This is super fun. Thank you so much, Victoria Siemer, everybody. Give her a nice thank you. And of course, we have, looks like we have Shauna Lynn up next, Michael Jarrett as well. So this will be good. Just walked in, so this is going to be fun. Stay with us.